The following program is sponsored by Your Credit Matters.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Your Credit Matters. I'm your host, Ronnie Lambeth, bringing to you each and every day right here on K-Praise what the banks, the credit bureaus, the collection companies, what they don't want you to know about your credit and your finances and what's going on with this real estate market. Today in the studio, I have with me attorney Sean Doan. Thanks, Sean, for coming in.
Good afternoon, Rondi. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for taking the time. I know your time is precious. You're not billing right now for billable hours, and that's really what it's all about for an attorney, isn't it? Billable hours?
Billable hours. Money, 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 money.
Money, money, money. You know, that's why a lot of attorneys go to law school, isn't it?
I think someone was telling me that you basically come out of college and you get your JD now. You get your license to practice law. I mean, that's standard issue. And the bar has tightened up the testing to where it's down to about 20 to 30%
actually pass
of actually passing. Everyone's going to law school.
You know, I got a call. It's been about a month ago. I got a call from a real estate agent here in San Diego that was calling me he wanted your number to file bankruptcy, and because he's had over $200,000 in student loan debt and making $20,000 a year and can't make the minimum payments. And I thought, man, how bad does that have to suck that you went to law school, couldn't pass the bar, and you got $200,000 in debt?
What do you do?
Yeah, what do you do?
And it's even lower the second time around, bar pass.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted. I said, man, I felt so sorry for the guy that he's got so much debt, he can't file bankruptcy on it, can't make enough money to pay it. I mean, how many times can you take the bar?
It's unlimited.
Unlimited?
It's offered twice a year in California, February and July. But yeah, I know people that have taken it 5, 6, 7 times.
And how many days of testing is it? Is it a 3-day test?
3 days. 3 full days.
Is it hard?
It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I would say it's a hard exam.
Is it? Yeah. You know, I was sailing. This has been about 2 weeks ago. I went whale watching, and I met an attorney just past her bar. And I think you and I talked about this when we were going up to the pre-concert for the Grammys, how in California, if you work for an attorney for a year as an apprentice, you can actually just take the bar without going to law school.
Right. You get to go past.
What do you think the chances of passing? I mean, have you ever heard of that? Anybody ever doing that?
No, I actually have heard of that. It's basically you have experience, you've been around it enough, and I think one of the policies in having that is these people who have been in the industry or been in legal practice, we want to encourage them to go into law because they have the experience and they're competent. We want competent attorneys.
Yeah. I see so many attorneys that are not competent.
Anyone can go out and memorize black letter law, but can you apply it? Can you take a set of circumstances, use the law to interpret, which way,
how to go with it and what it actually means.
Right.
I got a case right now in Colorado, and I can't get a simple attorney letter, and it's a fairly black and white, but a lot of these attorneys, I look at it as they don't want to work on something unless they're going to make thousands of dollars. And, what I found with you is you do free consultations, and you're an attorney and you make a good living, but you're there. I see it as this is kind of like your ministry, if I can put words in. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it the Doan Law Ministry, that you're helping people and families get out of debt, and I see it as you're saving lives, because the number one reason for suicide in the United States is credit card debt. And I think that I personally think as a retired fireman that a good bankruptcy attorney saves more lives than firemen do.
I agree with you 100%, and I see it every day.
You see the people that come in.
They come in the first time they come in, and then 2 years later when they come in with someone else they referred, or they want me to look at their credit report. Just the change in person, it's incredible, to have had an impact in their life, for the positive.
I was talking to a listener yesterday, and about 30 seconds into the conversation, she was in tears. She was sobbing She could barely speak because here's why. She was so happy after meeting with you that she couldn't even express her words. She was just bawling on the phone. And it was because you're going to be able to help her with her debt and her housing situation. And I would mention her name, but I think she'd be embarrassed right now because of a lot of her friends and family listening to the show.
Yeah, let's not do that.
But I see that when I talk to people and they call me from the show and they're so upset, and then they meet with you and it's like it's a totally different person. They have the weight of the world is taken off of them, and they're finally given an opportunity to relax, and they have their first good night of sleep. I mean, how many times do you hear that I'm losing sleep overnight?
All the time.
I'm physically sick.
All the time. And that's one of the things I tell them after they come in and I talk to them. I go, you're going to go home tonight and you're going to sleep like you've never slept before. If they've really got it, if they, really, really realize what they're doing, the relief they're going to get, they will. They'll clunk out.
Because they finally get the release. Exactly. That they finally figured out a solution to their problem. And that's why we have you on the show. So if you're listening to the show right now and you got financial problems, maybe you're behind on some credit card bills, you went through a divorce, you lost your job, who knows, maybe you have a house that's upside down. 50% of the homes in San Diego right now, 50% are either upside down or they're distressed properties. So if you're looking at your spouse right now and you have credit card problems, you have collections, you're getting those phone calls from the mortgage company, you're facing foreclosure and you need help, and you want a free consultation with one of the best attorneys here in California that's helped over 35,000 families. Him and his family has helped over 35,000 people in California get out of debt in sometimes as little as 100 days. You owe it to yourself to give them a call. Again, that call is free. You can call the show. It's 888-900-3678. That's 888-900-3678. You're not going to be live. You're going to be put into Sean's voicemail. Or you can simply call Sean's assistant who's answering the phones tonight as Sean is here on the radio. It's 760-479-5622. That number's right, isn't it, Sean?
That's it.
All right. So again, for Sean, you're going to talk to Lindsay. Schedule your free legal consultation. It's 760-479-5622. Up next, Sean is going to share with us this $25 billion settlement. That's billion with a B. $25 billion settlement, the majority of it coming to California, and what that means to you and how much money that you and your family could be receiving in the next few weeks to few months. So stick around for that segment.
Are you struck with fear every time the phone rings? Harassing calls from collection agencies and credit card companies? Your balance is skyrocketing and you're barely paying the minimums each month. Maybe you bought your home at the top of the market and lost your job last year. You've always had good credit. But now, Doan Law Firm understands, and they'll walk you through your valley. Did you know you can get those harassing phone calls stopped immediately and get medical bills, credit cards, and unsecured debt completely eliminated? Doan has over 30,000 satisfied clients and operates on traditional Judeo-Christian values. Call 619-333-0111. If you're upside down with a second mortgage, Doan may be able to have your second eliminated. Call 619-333-0111. That's 619-333-0111. 619-333-0111. Or online at creditroadmap.com. Sleep peacefully tonight in your own home with the Doan difference. Doan Law Firm is a federally designated debt relief agency.
Hi, this is Rondi, certified FICO credit professional. Did you know that 100%, you heard me, 100% of all credit reports are inaccurate? And based on those inaccuracies, the banks and the credit bureaus can make billions of dollars off of you, the American people. See, the more mistakes on a credit report, the more they can make. Do you think it's fair that while the banks are getting richer, you're getting poorer? While the banks are flying around in their fancy jets, you're barely scraping by. If you'd like to put a stop to what I call theft, give me a call. My number is 619-333-0111.
or you can go to the website creditroadmap.com and sign up to be on my newsletter and sign up for my free book on how you can fix your own credit. You'll be glad you did.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Your Credit Matters. I'm your host, Ronnie Lambeth, certified FICO credit professional, author and speaker, bringing to you each and every day what I think the banks, the credit bureaus, the collection companies, what I think they don't want you to know about your credit, about your finances, what I think they purposely do to keep your credit score low. See, the lower your credit score, the more the banks, the credit bureaus, and collection companies can make. In fact, this is not even my opinion anymore. It's law. In the 1960s, the government was getting so many complaints against banks and credit bureaus that they created what's called the Fair Credit Report Act of 1971 that requires the banks and the bureaus to do certain things before they report it. Because they figured out something, that the banks and the credit bureaus and the collection companies, they work like the mafia. They have unwritten rules and codes, and if they can drive down your credit score, they can literally steal from you billions and billions of dollars. And that's how this industry works. You know, speaking of law, we have attorney Sean Doan. Sean, thanks for coming into the studio again today.
Thank you for having me, Rondi.
You know, earlier we were talking about, bankruptcy and saving lives and getting people out of debt in as little as 100 days. And it really is that simple, isn't it? They come, they meet with you, they do a consultation.
We get some personal information, fill out some forms. There's a little bit more to it. There's a means test now under the new bankruptcy laws. And, well, there's a lot of documents we got to gather and look at. And so there is some work to it. I mean, we do earn our fee. But, yeah, you're filing for relief that you are entitled to. You're entitled to it.
Just like I'm entitled to.
There's no qualifications. It's not like, you got to have a certain amount of debt or a certain situation before you can go file bankruptcy. Anybody can file bankruptcy anytime, anywhere, whether they're going to get the relief or not.
Yeah, that's a different
question.
story.
I mean, there's guidelines, of course, but, bankruptcy, it's there to everybody.
You know, not to get sidetracked here or change the subject, but, yesterday on the show, I talked about this $25 billion settlement that the 50 states, the AGs, that they come up with a settlement with the 5 largest banks in the United States. And there's $25 billion, I think $18 billion. Does that sound about right? $18 billion?
I'm getting really excited on this. This actually looks like we might have some teeth. There might be a little bit of punch on this. You know, the prior programs, the HAMP programs, those have
the HAMPs, the HARPs.
They've failed. Yeah. Complete failure. But this, we actually might see some money. If you're a homeowner, you might get, that upside down portion of your mortgage written off.
I think here's my personal opinion with this, and I'm not an attorney. That's why I have the attorney with me on the show. My personal opinion is the HAMP and the HARP is from the federal government, and it's sponsored by the federal government. And truly, if you want something done and if you want to go after the banks, it's got to come down to the state level because the feds are so in bed with Goldman and Sachs and all of the other bankers that you can't get anywhere. And that's why I know a few months ago, the state attorney general in Nevada and California and 7 other states said, no, absolutely not. We're not going to reach this settlement because in the settlement it said, if you agree to it, you can't come back later, and the citizens of the great state of California cannot come back later and sue us. And with the new settlement, I believe that it changed to where we're going to get $18 billion for California, but the private citizens can still sue the banks for damages for wrongdoing.
Right. We're hoping that's still going to be there. The final version of the settlement, isn't public, and I don't even think they have completely drawn it up yet. But we do know a few things. For instance, at least $10 billion towards writing down loan balances. That's huge.
Okay, so there's $10 billion that are going to go towards writing down loan balances. So what I hear is, let's say you got a $700,000 home. You owe $1 million on it, that's not really that's really not that far-fetched in San Diego.
No, it's not.
So you owe $1 million. It's worth 700. They're going to write it down to 700,000.
Right.
So you actually own your home now, and you owe what it's worth. You're no longer upside down.
700,000.
Which is going to prevent you from filing bankruptcy. It's going to prevent you from having to do a loan mod, prevent you from having to sell your home, go through foreclosure. So that should help a lot of people.
That's the big thing right there is they're trying to get at that foreclosure, try to lower those numbers, to try to get the housing market back in track and get people back into investing in America.
What else do we see in this $25 billion settlement, this mortgage settlement? What else are you seeing in there?
Well, one of the big things in what caused it all was just the servicing, the way these foreclosures were being handled. Banks were foreclosing on properties without even doing due diligence as far as whether they are entitled to foreclose. You may have heard of the robo-signers.
Absolutely. And I think that I've read this, and a lot of it has to do with the robo-signers, where somebody clicked a button and now they're getting foreclosed on them. And the computer signed the documents and sent it off to the law firm, and now they're foreclosing.
Right. And we were finding out that a lot of these foreclosures, the banks did not have the note and the deed of trust. They didn't own it. It was never assigned to them. It was still sitting somewhere like with MERS or, with the original trustee that it was supposed to take over the ownership of it.
So let's talk about that. If you're listening to the show, here's how this breaks down is, if you have a mortgage and you went out and you purchased a home and they sold it to another company, and that happens a lot, and it still happens today, but from 2005 to 2010, that happened a lot, to where you could actually get a new servicer about every 90 days. And so what happens is, when you write that check to Bank of America or Wells Fargo, that may or may not be the actual investor, the one that owns the note, the one that actually has the lien assigned or attached to your property. They're the servicer. So with Michelle and I, we own a property management company in Colorado, and we service 87 properties, and we make a percentage of the rents that we receive. In exchange, we take care of the property. We make sure the bills are paid, the HOA fees are paid. And that's really what was happening with this mortgage settlement, is that you write your check to Bank of America, and Bank of America forecloses on you, but Bank of America doesn't have any paperwork even proving that they own the money. In fact, it's some investor that is in China, and they bought it through some stock. So they're the investor. And so that's part of this settlement, Sean, that the way I understand it is that the servicers and the robo signers and all that, that's kind of how you see it?
Right. They're going to implement some guidelines to just kind of fix the integrity issues on the chain of title, who actually is entitled to foreclose on the property, who the proper party in interest is, as you might hear sometimes, get that catchphrase on the radio or TV. So we'll see if that helps. I would imagine it's going to do a lot.
I hope it does, but you never know. So
it got all 49. We got all 50 states.
All 50 states finally agreed to it. So there's about $18 billion or so coming to the state of California, which is cool. We're going to keep you up to date on that. But if you're listening to the show, you need some help with your credit, finances, with this real estate. If you have questions about this $25 billion settlement, feel free to give us a call. It's 888-900-3678. It's 888-900-3678, or simply go to the website badcreditisAchoice.com. Again, that's badcreditisAchoice.com.
Are you struck with fear every time the phone rings? Harassing calls from collection agencies and credit card companies? Your balance is skyrocketing and you're barely making the minimums each month? Maybe you bought your home at the top of the market and lost your job last year. You've always had good credit, but now Doan Law Firm understands, and they'll walk you through your valley. Did you know you can get those harassing phone calls stopped immediately and get medical bills, credit card, and unsecured debt completely eliminated? Doan has over 30,000 satisfied clients and operates on traditional Judeo-Christian values. Call 760-845-5026. That's 760-845-5026 for immediate help. Appointments are no charge with a low price guarantee. If you're upside down with a second mortgage, Doan may be able to have your second eliminated. Call 760-845-5026 or go online to DoanLawFirm.com. Sleep peacefully tonight in your own home with the Doan difference. Doan Law Firm is a federally designated debt relief agency.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Your Credit Matters. I'm your host, Ronnie Lambeth, bringing to you each and every day what I think the banks, the credit bureaus, collection companies, the media, and our own government officials, what they don't want you to know about your credit, your finances, what's really going on with this real estate market. You know, you hear it every day on the news. Every day there's some story about the banks having to settle, the banks being sued, the bank's foreclosing on the little old lady that is on her deathbed and can't afford to make a payment on a home that's upside down due to the fact that the bank sold the debt to the Chinese, crashed the real estate market, and upset our economy. With that being said, we have Sean Doan from the Doan Law Firm. Thanks, Sean, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You know, earlier we were talking, if you're just tuning in, we've been talking about this $25 billion with a B
How many
mortgage
zeros?
settlement.
How many zeros is 25 billion?
Well, a million is 7. There's 6 zeros, so it would
100
be
million is
9
7.
9 zeros.
9 zeros.
Yeah, 10 figures, 9 zeros. I think that's right. 9 zeros would be 10 figures.
About half of Bill Gates' net worth, probably.
You know what? It actually, if you're going to sidetrack me here a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
When we start talking about billions and billions and
Billions and
billions,
billions.
I mean, we
Do you
got to
know-
keep it in perspective. I mean, is it a lot of money?
For a bank, absolutely not. It represents, you know, Bank of America reported last year record-breaking profits with $130 billion in profit after paying. So $25 billion is nothing for banks.
25 billion among 5 banks.
Is really not
5
that much.
banks.
Yeah,
So-
5 banks. It's not a lot of money.
5 billion.
You know, I figured this out last night on our show that Michelle and I were talking about this. The amount of foreclosures that they did for this $25 billion lawsuit was $1.8 trillion.
Dollars.
So it's just over 10%. So they foreclosed on $1.8 trillion of debt, and they're having to pay a $25 billion fine to the states to make it right. So it's really not that much money.
Yeah, I don't see why any CEO of any of these banks would not be part of it if it's, you know, going to prevent them from having future liability from the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting to see if they do that. But, you know, we were talking, you kind of sidetracked me with Bill Gates, and I want to throw a plug out there for Bill. You know, I'm a huge Mac user. I love Apple, love Steve Jobs and what his company did. But Bill Gates he's the richest man in the world every couple months because he gives away so much money. And that's something you don't see with these banks. They don't give anything away. You know, they take
give
what
money
they can.
to the presidential campaigns.
They give a lot of money. You are absolutely right on that. They give a lot of money to the presidential campaigns, to the congressmen, to the senators, the FTC. They pay off judges. And I think that's all this is. It's just a payoff to attempt to...
it's another smokescreen, another distraction from what's really going on.
In fact, you were mentioning during the break that for every dollar they have to pay out to the states, our U.S. government's going to match it?
Well,
or something like that?
There's going to be complex, and I quote, complex formulas spill out exactly how much credit the banks will receive for that aid. So in essence, the money that they're going to give out writing down these mortgages, they're going to get some type of benefit from the government as far as either tax write-off or bailout money. And you think about that, it's, I'm
really trying to control myself here because it's really, really upsetting. The fact that they screwed over the American people, foreclosed, kicked you out of your house, the Attorney General sued them, won, and now the administration, the feds are saying, hey, we're sorry, banks. You're our partners. For every dollar you have to pay to the state of California, we're going to match it and give you back $1. And
we will get a credit.
We're going to give you a credit because we're going to take the money out of their taxes next year, and we're going to pay you all back.
Another distraction.
Absolutely. It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me that, the only two industries in the United States have grown every year is the government and the healthcare system. That's it. Government, healthcare. Everybody else is struggling, yet the government gets bigger and bigger, and then they give back all this money. So, Sean, we're running out of time. Thank you so much for coming in today.
It was a pleasure to be here, Rodney. Thank you for having me, as always.
Hey, Sean, what is the number that you want? If anybody has any questions on the settlement, on filing bankruptcy, getting out of debt in the next 100 days, or with short sales or anything like that, what's the number they're going to give you a call?
They can call 760-479-5622.
What was that number again?
760-479-5622.
All right. Thank you for that. And as always, if you have any questions on your credit, feel free to give me a call 24 hours a day. Talk to somebody at my office. It's 888-900-3678. That's 888-900-3678. Or simply go to the website, badcreditisAchoice.com. Again, that's badcreditisAchoice.com. As always, this is Ronnie Lambeth bringing you the truth each and every day. And it's the truth that's going to set you free.
Hi, this is Ronnie, certified FICO credit professional. Did you know that 100%, you heard me, 100% of all credit reports are inaccurate? And based on those inaccuracies, the banks and the credit bureaus can make billions of dollars off of you, the American people. See, the more mistakes on a credit report, the more they can make. Do you think it's fair that while the banks are getting richer, you're getting poorer? While the banks are flying around in their fancy jets, you're barely scraping by. If you'd like to put a stop to what I call theft, give me a call. My number is 619-333-0111. Or you can go to the website, creditroadmap.com, and sign up to be on my newsletter and sign up for my free book on how you can fix your own credit. You'll be glad you did.
The preceding program was sponsored by Your Credit Matters.